Deb, what's her name?
Sean.
Sean.
Yes. Here it is. It's on now. Can you hear?
They can hear me.
Okay.
But I can't hear them.
Oh, yes, I do remember you doing that for her.
So I suppose we gotta take and unplug this so that I can hear it in my ears.
You're asking the person who knows nothing about this stuff.
Hello, welcome to the conferencing system.
It's okay now.
Please enter the conference number followed by the pound key, or press star to create a new conference.
Did you push something for me?
Yeah. Can you hear?
No, it wants some conference key or something, like you're calling. See, it looks like you're calling the conference.
Oh, I didn't mean to do that.
But you don't necessarily
Please enter the conference number followed by the pound key, or press star to create a new conference.
The Blade 3, do you want to disconnect the Blade 3?
Sean?
I'm on the phone.
Let's,
I'm...
This is just the four partners and then the speakers.
Please enter the conference number followed by the pound key, or press star to create a new conference.
We're going to officially open the public hearing on the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act Combined State Plan for Nebraska. And with me this morning, I'm going to introduce myself first, and we'll have each of our core partners introduce themselves.
Please enter the conference number followed by the pound key, or press star to create a new conference.
My name is Mark Schultz. I'm the Director of Nebraska Vocational Rehabilitation. And
Joan Madrell, Director of the Office of Employment and Training, Department of Labor.
Lorena Hernandez, Nebraska Department of Labor, Office of Employment and Training.
Please enter the conference number followed by the pound key, or press star to create a new conference.
Vicki Bauer, Nebraska Department of Education, State Director of Adult Education.
Pearl Van Zandt, Director of Nebraska Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Madhvi Barbade, Program Specialist, State Unit on Aging, Department of Health and Human Services.
Please enter the conference number followed by the pound key,
thank you
or
everyone
press
for
star to
attending
create
this morning.
a new conference.
The purpose of this hearing is to gather comments on the Combined State Plan. We do not intend to respond this morning, but we do have an obligation under the hearing process and the law to respond to those comments within the state plan. So we will intend
enter the
to do
conference
that,
number
and those
followed
will
by
be
the pound
available
key,
hopefully shortly
or press
after
star
this
to
hearing.
create a new conference.
With that, I'm going to start here in Lincoln and see if we have anyone that wishes to offer public comment at this time. So again, we'll look around. Anyone wishing to do so, please come up. So, okay, not seeing anyone here. How about those in other offices? Would you raise your hand if you're here to provide comment on the state plan? Okay, all right. So I see one person that raised their hand, and that is looks like it must be in Fremont or
Disconnected.
in Fremont. So let's go ahead and if you can put your mic on, we will unmute your mic. We will accept your comment at this time.
Can you hear me?
Please introduce yourself first. So.
This is Barb Pierce with Greater Fremont Development Council.
We're not hearing you, so could you?
Is our volume up?
Let me check. Volume. Nope. That could be why. Sorry. It was our problem. Try again.
This is Barb Pierce.
Yes.
That is your microphone, Barb?
Yeah.
Right there.
With Greater Fremont Development Council in Fremont, Nebraska. And I actually, we just got this set up so I could start to hear you. So I probably missed some introductory comments and such. So forgive me if I am not talking on that, which I should be or whatever. So I think you had asked if anyone wanted to make comments on the plan. And my only comment right now at this time before we talk about other issues, I figure we're going to be getting into the plan even more. Is that correct? Or are you just taking comments?
We are just taking comments today with the public hearing, so we're not really sharing. I guess we could do a quick overview of the plan if people would like to do that. I don't know that we're actually prepared to share, but we can do a quick overview.
Well, that's okay. What my comment was, it looked to me like perhaps Dodge County then now is put into a new region as part of the Omaha region. Is that correct? That's what's being proposed, is a change in the map of the regions?
That would be correct. For regional planning purposes under WIOA, Dodge County is in the Omaha area.
Okay, but however, that does not mean that the local area for Fremont, that office would be changing. So our contact for getting workforce development assistance is not changing. Is that correct?
That would be correct, especially if you are referring to Title I WIOA, which is the Adult Youth and Dislocated Worker Program. That structure remains the same.
Okay.
For regional workforce planning purposes, however, what we hope to accomplish and hope to grow to is the inclusion of the workforce between the Omaha area, Fremont, etc., that there's joint planning on working with employers, working with joint planning on the delivery of services to those unemployed or underemployed. So because job seekers and employers really don't see those county lines, they work in areas. Mm-hmm. And so I hope that helps clarify.
That does, exactly. My interest, of course, is the workforce development in my position with Greater Fremont Development. I'm the director of existing business, so I work closely with businesses, and of course their major topic right now is workforce and workforce development. And a common topic I hear maybe is that we don't have a area workforce development office in Fremont any longer, and there's concerns about that. And I would have to say I wasn't for sure where to send people or who to work with until I started maybe coming to some of the WIOA planning sessions and such. So I'm very excited to hear that we're in this part of the put together as a regional partnership. I think that's going to be excellent. Greater Fremont Development Council is a partner with the Greater Omaha Chamber and the Greater Omaha Economic Development Partnership. We have an office in Fremont and an office in downtown Omaha. So I just really liked what I saw with that, and look forward to working closely with the providers who are going to be working on helping the businesses with their workforce development needs. So that was my main interest today in this, is to clarify that. I guess if I am seeking workforce development assistance for my businesses, who is my contact now going to be in Omaha?
I can't for sure answer that now, but let me give you this response. Because of the requirement to do regional planning on workforce issues, that starts to be established, identified, and, for lack of a better way of saying it, just cleared up. Because you're absolutely right. There's a lot of confusion about, in government services, we have all these different boundaries. Well, at the end of the day, it's folks outside of government don't relate to getting needs or workforce based on county lines. It's much broader than that. So this planning effort, that's exactly what it's designed to start to, if you will, clear up and establish how those regional areas access workforce services to employers, to job seekers, etc.
Wonderful. And are you looking for folks like myself to assist in this regional planning effort, and what does that look like going forward? Is it first this plan needs to be put into place and accepted, and then we start working it out? Is that
correct? And absolutely, economic development entities will be a required partner in that regional planning process. So the answer to your question is yes.
Yeah. So, okay, I think that is, I think that is the gist of what I wanted to make sure I was understanding in how the plan was. I attended the WIOA forum in Omaha at the Job Center, the Goodwill Job Center a while back. Thought it was excellent. So very excited about this effort and this plan. I've read through a portion of it. It is 400 some pages. Have
we
not
apologize.
gotten all the way through it. That's why I wondered if we were going to be picking specific parts today at all to discuss, or were we to come with our questions and that's all we're going to be dealing with today, is just anyone who had questions bringing them forward.
Okay. Well, yeah, thank you for that. That's a nice segue into an impromptu overview of the combined state plan. I think what you see is a commitment by all the core partners to work together to align our services and our programs to develop a more comprehensive workforce delivery system in Nebraska. So I'm going to ask Joan to give you kind of the overview of the vision and the goals in that state plan, and then we'll ask each of the core partners to talk about their particular sections, and maybe just highlight 2 or 3 things that either are different from past state plans or that are activities that you want to feature that are within the section or the goals and activities that you plan for next year. So
cool. Well, thank you, Mark. Well, I'll give just a really high-level overview of kind of how the plan's put together. As way of introduction, there are 10 federally funded employment and training programs that have committed to be a part of Nebraska's combined state plan.
Excuse me. Can you please mute the mic there in Fremont?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem. So there's 10 federal partners at this point. This doesn't mean that this is to the exclusion of additional workforce partners coming on board in any way, shape, or form. We view this as a starting point, but the 10 federal funded programs that are part of the Nebraska's combined state plan spread across 3 state agencies right now. So you will notice, or if you've read all the plan or bits and pieces of the plan, there's a lot of talk about alignment of programs. There's a lot of talk about the structure of how the system operates and how that's defined. So what we've attempted to do in the plan is it's organized really in 3 major sections. There are the strategic elements, which outlines the vision, the goals, and the strategies of building Nebraska's workforce system and aligning programs and services in a regional way, as well as understanding that WIOA Title I has a local area geographic designation, but our emphasis under the new plan is really looking at regional areas and how economies work in those regional areas and how workforce issues are addressed and delivered in those areas. The second part of the plan is an operational planning element, and in that section of the plan it identifies policies. It identifies the role of the state board, operational kinds of things. Our friend in Fremont focused in on the new regional concept that's outlined in the plan. But that operational planning section gives you quite a bit of detail, again, in a holistic way of what the system starts to look like and what its goals and strategies are. And then the third part, which is the vast majority of the pages, I think those first 2 parts take you through about page 1 through 60. And then beyond that, each of the plan partners has their program-specific requirements outlined. So there's a chapter on the Wagner-Pizer Employment Service, and those sections are informative on how individual partners plan to collaborate and coordinate, and even more importantly, in those sections are the individual partners' compliance requirements in order for the federal government to fund our programs. That's why those get pretty lengthy, the bulk of the plan. So if you have a special interest in any one of the plan partners, and want to know specifics, I direct you to spend some time noodling around in those sections, because you'll find more program-specific stuff outlined in those areas. High-level view, that is the plan. We're viewing it as 3 components, and we would welcome comments on any or all of the different sections in the plan. So with that, I think we're ready to take more comments.
Well, I think if we can go around to each of the partners,
that's right.
I think. And,
of the significant, or some changes.
Stan,
sorry.
you might have to scoot up this way. Or so.
Again, Lorena Hernandez with Wagner-Pizer, which is the Employment Services section of the plan. The Employment Services section covers 2 primary areas: Wagner-Pizer services to unemployed individuals. So what our employment and reemployment services and strategies will be to coordinate with our unemployment counterparts and with our training partners to get individuals reemployed. We have to outline that type of information. The other major section that Wagner-Pizer covers in the state plan is services to MSFW populations, which is the migrant and seasonal farm worker populations. The Wagner-Pizer section houses the Agricultural Outreach Plan, the AOP, for the state for WIOA. So we explain how we provide and partner with our MSFW partners and programs to provide employment services to those migrant and seasonal farm worker populations.
And for the Title I programs, basically you're looking at pages 94 through 108.
No, you can't. Here, I can move it.
Okay. So Title I programs encompass the adult, dislocated worker, and youth programs under WIOA. And a lot of what went into this section includes a lot of planning related to the changes under WIOA. So there's a much bigger emphasis focused on work-based learning under WIOA. And so there's quite a bit of focus in these sections on registered apprenticeships, how we're working with employers to get more work-based training opportunities. There's also some additional language relating to the new eligible training provider provisions. A big focus of WIOA is making sure that when federal dollars are spent on training programs, that we're actually getting something good in return, making sure that people are earning increased amounts of money as they come out of these programs, that the programs are worthwhile. So there's a big emphasis on that. When you get into the youth program, we talk quite a bit about the out-of-school youth requirements under WIOA. That's changed a lot. We're now required to spend 75% of our funding on out-of-school youth, and so there's a big emphasis on recruiting youth as well as getting them into work experiences once they're in our program. We've got a minimum of 20% of our funding that is required to go towards work experiences for youth, and so a lot of that section is related to strategies related to getting youth that work experience.
Oh, you don't need to put me on the picture. This is Vicki Bauer, and I'm with the Adult Education. The Adult Education Program, and we will continue to provide educational services to those persons who are 16 years of age and older and withdrawn from school. We serve those who function at or below the 12th grade level. We help people complete high school by taking the GED assessment. We help immigrants learn the English language. We help people who maybe high school graduates, but need to raise their academic or basic skills so that they can enter college or get a job. A major focus of WIOA for us is to help our students, our adult students, become economically self-sustaining so that when they leave our program, they're able to go out and get a good job or be prepared to go on to further education or training. Another major component of WIOA for us is to incorporate career pathways in all our programs for all our students, including our ESL students. So that's a huge effort for us, and we are moving forward on that. We're having training for all our adult education teachers and staff this spring so that they're ready to incorporate that in their programs July 1st of 2016. Digital literacy is another focus of our program for this coming year. A change in WIOA allows us to spend up to 20% of our instructional funds for corrections. It presently is 8.25%, and now it can go up to 20%. We are definitely more involved with our partners with WIOA. We were intended to do all this when WIOA was passed in 1998, but it didn't get done. So we're definitely making it happen with WIOA in 2014, and we look forward to that. That's all.
Okay. Hi, I'm Pearl Van Zant with Nebraska Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired. We are the vocational rehabilitation program for people with vision impairments, and if they have any additional disabilities, which the majority of the people we work with do have multiple disabilities. So we're parallel to the Voc Rehab agency. We are the VR agency for the blind. In our case, developing blindness skills, learning how to use accessible equipment and technology, and to manage things without vision. So the blindness skills is a big part of what we do, but it's all toward the goal of employment, enabling people to become full participants, to be employed, to have careers. If they are, and we work with all ages actually, and for younger people, being exposed to work experience, being exposed to different kinds of careers, having the opportunities to have jobs as youth, and then to go on into education, whatever level of education we can support that, college, community college, technical schools, and then on into employment opportunities and supporting those. So it's all about gearing toward employment, working with business to engage businesses to understand blindness more fully and the capabilities of blind people. So the engaging businesses is an increasingly strong emphasis with WIOA. Also, pre-employment transition services is for youth. It's not completely defined yet of what will fit that, but we're working very strongly to enhance the abilities of young people to be able to move into the workforce. So that's pretty much it.
Okay, and again, I'm Mark Schultz. I'm the director of Nebraska VR. And I'm just going to preface everything just to follow up with what Pearl said. And we are all awaiting final rules and regulations, which will help clarify some of the things we said we were going to do and whether or not that's even possible. Yeah. So knowing that, we've been operating under the law since for almost over a year and a half now, and without those rules and regulations. So we've been trying to do some things that we think are in line with that. But within the state plan, I'm just going to point out a couple of things that are different than what we've been doing in the past. One of those is the pre-employment transition services that Pearl pointed out. So we are required to set aside 15% of our funds, our federal funds, to serve students who are of transition age, 16 to 21, who are either under an IEP or a Section 504 plan. So that creates some concerns for us because that is somewhat restrictive. and we're awaiting guidance in terms of others who might be able to be served who are classified as potentially eligible. So that's something we're particularly interested in if anyone has any comments on that. The other thing is there's a focus on competitive integrated employment. Other types of employment are no longer eligible under the program. And so one of the things that has an impact on this new to us is what's called Section 511, which requires the VR program to do assessments for individuals with significant disabilities to provide a certificate if they're determined to not be capable of competitive integrated employment, which would then allow them to move to a sub-minimum wage job, which in our state would be shelter workshops for the most part. So in order for them to be eligible to go to a shelter workshop, we would have to do an assessment and say they're not capable of competitive integrated employment. So that has some implications for how we will be working with the DD system and individuals with intellectual or developmental disabilities. So we'll be developing that system once we receive further guidance, hopefully in June of this year. The other thing that Pearl mentioned is we have an increased emphasis on working with businesses. So the state plan outlines a number of those business strategies, business engagement strategies that we intend to implement. In addition to that, Nebraska was one of 4 states to receive a federal grant around career pathways. And so we are actively recruiting and going back to clients we formerly placed in some sector jobs such as information technology, manufacturing, etc., and seeing if they have an interest in advancing into better paying, higher skilled positions within that career sector. So we're doing that in partnership with the Department of Labor Programs. It's a collaboration that I think demonstrates the power, I think, of this alignment of programs. I think that we're really looking forward to that being a successful, innovative kind of program. So with that, the other thing I will mention that we're working on in terms of alignment of our systems are some processes. So we've already begun discussions about how we can develop a common intake process or forms so that users coming into our system won't have to complete applications for each program, that we can share some basic information and to expedite that referral to each other, as well as other information sharing and reporting opportunities that lead to some of those common performance measures that are now required of our programs. So now, with that background and the information from all the programs, I'm going to open it up again for comments that may have sparked some comments or some questions on your part. So, yep. Kathy?
Yes, I'm Kathy Hall from the Nebraska Statewide Independent Living Council. And actually, I will be submitting comments in writing. But I just felt I had some real concerns about the whole setup, the process. One, you were talking about the economic development first in Fremont. They were being their mandated partner in this whole process. I guess my concern is I would hope people with disabilities would also be required partners in this, not only VR and CPPI, but actual people that are facing the day-to-day struggles. And the other area of concern is that there is nobody from the Department of Education sitting at that table. You are talking about 504 plans. Most schools don't even recognize 504 plans. How are you, and this is the question, I know you don't want a question, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. How are you going to identify a category of people when schools don't track them and the Department of Education is not involved in your process and planning? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy. Look forward to your written comments. Any other comments there in Omaha since we're right there? Yes.
Sure. My name is Sarah Swanson, and I just have a couple of questions. I thought the plan, kudos to all of you for your hard work, because it's like 30 pages. So thank you for your work.
Read it all.
Yeah, I read sections. Just a couple of different things. I guess one of the things that I really like about the plan and WIOA is the focus on combining the efforts of all the employment programs. And I guess it would be nice to see exactly how there's going to be collaboration between VR and the American Job Centers. I know that VR is a required partner. But I also know that there's a lot of barriers to competitive integrated employment for people with disabilities. And I don't know that businesses always see what those barriers are. And so seeing a formal way to bring awareness of the barriers would be wonderful. I know the Department of Labor has a wonderful campaign called Supporting Our Heroes, where there's an emphasis on employing veterans that have disabilities. That is wonderful. I also would just like to mention that I know that there is a focus on serving out-of-school youth, and though I do not have the statistics for that, I would wonder, and I would also, I guess, make for the public record that I would guesstimate that a good large majority of those individuals are youth with disabilities. It only makes sense that the out-of-school youth might be individuals that have mental health conditions who the school may not recognize right away, or they may be youth that have learning disabilities that don't necessarily enjoy school, and they're trying to get out of that. And so putting wraparound services around those out-of-school youth and recognizing whether or not there's a disability there may be a really upstream approach. As a parent of a child that is 504 eligible and had to battle with the school to recognize that even though he does not have any learning impairments, but that he has a health condition that is recognizable under 504, even with what they call mitigating circumstances, I would go on the record as saying that the Department of Ed needs to market to families and to parents that VR is a support available to them. Because if I depended solely on the school to tell me that my son is eligible, I would never have known, because the staff is not educated as such. So I would reiterate and put exclamation points that process needs to be in place, and I would encourage that there be a process to work with PTI Nebraska and other disability organizations to raise awareness and empower families to be aware that they are eligible for the service, because there are barriers to competitive employment. And then finally, WIOA speaks about how centers for independent living are required to do what they call transition and supporting youth with disabilities from school, from high school into competitive employment. And I guess it would be wonderful to see the plan address how the partners are going to collaborate with the Centers for Independent Living. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else in the Omaha office that wants to offer comments?
Me.
Yep, we're moving, I hope.
You're okay.
Okay.
Hi there, Erin Porterfield, Heartland Workforce Solutions. How are you? An incredible amount of work that you all have put together, and coming off of the convening of partners across the nation, everybody is trying to figure it out. And as Mark and Pearl and Vicki and I had seen, some states haven't yet started their plans, so we're ahead of the game there. I was particularly, there's a lot that I'm thrilled about in terms of the goals, but one of those in particular is common intake. And I loved how the phrasing there is the plan partners and additional stakeholders. So that is very interesting and affirming for what it is the Omaha metro area is trying to accomplish. So I'll be eager to be a part of those processes as we go forward to think about and integrate our creative juices for the common intake system, not only locally but potentially statewide. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else in Omaha? Deb, I'm sure you have a comment, right? Okay. Let's go. Let's go to Omaha West location. Does anyone have a comment that they'd like to share or offer at this time? Okay. I don't see anyone wanting to do that, so we'll move on. Let's go to, and I'm trying to, which office? That's the Lincoln office. Anyone there wish to offer a comment? No? Okay. So moving on to Norfolk. Anyone in the Norfolk office wish to offer a comment?
They said nope.
Okay, thank you. Columbus.
No, thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's go to, is Scotts Bluff on? Scotts Bluff.
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Kearney.
Yes, we have one.
Okay.
My name is Eileen Dakin from Community Action Partnership. Can you hear me okay? Okay, great.
Yes.
I have not had a chance to read the whole thing, but I did try to pursue the plan this morning. And my question was really related to page 37, where you have a nice layout of who's going to be providing what services. And my question is in regards to supportive services, things such as transportation, child care, financial assistance for rent and utilities and those things. Are there actually going to be additional funds set aside to assist people with these things or to enhance those supportive services? Or are you relying on existing programs to supply those supportive services?
Yeah, we'll be responding to that within our comments back. So we're not going to do that at this time, but we appreciate the question. We will respond. So thank you. Anyone else there in Kearney?
Nope, I think we're good here.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's see. Let's go to Fremont again. Any additional comments or questions?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to go back to the pre-employment services that 16 to 21-year-olds who are on a 504 and IEP. Could you help me to understand that, the ramifications of that? It sounds like, are you saying that the pre-employment services of funding is only to those on a Section 504 or IEP?
It's a set aside of funds, and we did not receive any additional funds, so that means the overall program funds for others who are adults or who do not fit that definition of 16 to 21 will have fewer funds available to them. That's the implication for that.
Is there another section of the plan that addresses the needs of the 16 to 21-year-olds outside of those restrictions?
they would be served as anyone else would under the program.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes.
Okay.
I'd like to add a comment that that's part of the specifics of what we're waiting for in the regulations. We actually don't know exactly what the population will be defined as that fits pre-employment transition services. So that's part of our dilemma right now as well.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's Pearl, right?
Yes.
You talked about the career pathways for students that you're working on. And I know that I'm very interested in working with our public school system and getting private businesses involved in public education more and talking about the career pathways and developing that side of things. Would your career pathways be restricted to the 504 and the IEP restrictions also, or is it outside of those restrictions?
Well, the general VR agency that Mark can speak to has the specific career pathways program. I was, I think, using the term a little more as a generic term, and the Commission for the Blind programs that is for youth not as specifically defined as the pre-employment transition, but youth that are within our program are eligible for our employment programs. We have a work and gain experience in the summer. We have other things that we do to get people into either internships or jobs, part-time jobs during school, that sort of thing, to be on a pathway toward a career, not just to have the first job, any job, but a good job and toward a career.
So I'm just going to say I kind of let us go a little bit astray here because we're supposed to be receiving comments and questions and then responding to those within the response in the state plan. So what we can definitely do is to expand on the Career Pathways Initiative and what that will mean for individuals within our comments back on the state plan. So we will do that. So, yeah. Any other comments? Okay. Thank you.
I think the plan is excellent. That what we're doing. I'm very excited for the different points that are in there, and especially for having all of these partners coming together. And everyone is been so out of the box thinking. I know at the forum that I was at, and I think that's very exciting. And what we need to do as Nebraskans is continue to do this out of the box thinking and bring together everyone's ideas, because there's some really great ones in there and amongst there that are going to set us apart. And it's pretty exciting to hear that we're one of the few that are states that are actually trying to get ahead of the game and get this together. So I'm very hopeful and excited to see where this leads us and continued talks and planning. So thank you all for those who have worked on this so hard.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to Grand Island next. Thank you, everyone, for getting through the snow there and coming today. So, comments.
This is Ann Chambers, and I'm with Adult Education, Central Community College, and I'm a member of the Greater Nebraska Workforce Development Board. I have a question, or perhaps need a clarification on out-of-school youth. If somebody is out of school, in my mind, that means they can enroll in a GED class or a college course and be assisted through WIOA. But I'm hearing that once they start a GED class, they're no longer considered out of school. And so 75% of the funding, I don't know where it goes. So I need a clarification on what's out of school, how do we get them into a GED or a college course and keep them as out of school?
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Other comments there in Grand Island? Okay, thank you. So, North Platte, does anyone have a comment they'd like to share?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Brett Deerdorf. I'm with Proteus, and so my comments are about the Wagner-Pizer section mainly. It talks about sharing outreach info with MSFW workers. Right now, we don't have a system to do that other than hollering down the hallway or sending an email. So when you talk about systems you're looking at, that would be nice to have some kind of system we can share for that. And then as well for referrals too. Same way with referrals, we just kind of have to manually send emails back and forth with referrals. It'd be nice if there were a more automatic way for those to happen.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else there in North Platte wish to offer a comment? Okay, thank you. All right, welcome to the Lincoln office here at the State Office Building. I'll check if there's anyone who wants to offer a comment at this time. No? Okay. All right. So we'll give everyone another opportunity here. So if you've thought of anything in the meantime, I can come back to you right now. Just raise your hand and let me know if I missed you or if you'd like to offer a comment again at this point. Okay, I see none. At this point, if there are no other comments to be offered, I think we can go ahead and we can close the public hearing. I appreciate all of you coming out today. Appreciate you sharing your comments. Again, we will respond to those within the final version of the state plan that will go out. And so I appreciate you coming, sharing those comments today. Any last thoughts from any of the core partners? Anything you'd like to share?
I guess I would just say on behalf of the core partners and the plan partners, this is a work in progress, and it is rewarding to hear some of you say that you've kind of flipped through the plan or focused in on certain pieces of it and like what you see. I think we can say on behalf of all of us here, from our standpoint, we're committed to working together. Figuring out how we do collaborate and streamline, build a system for our job-seeking public as well as a system for employers who so desperately need a trained workforce and an available workforce. That's kind of what it's all about, is putting together a bunch of very successful individual efforts and starting to make those into a system that makes sense to those who access our services and who use us. So thank you on behalf of the Department of Labor for taking the time to come and share your thoughts. And we'll just keep in contact.
Yeah. One final thing I would just share is that there were some comments about other partners who need to be involved. If you go back and read the state plan and specifics of the state plan, there are a number of assurances that say that we have to collaborate with certain partners within those systems, and we are. So the state plan does give some details about that. So please take a look at that and see. That may answer some of the questions and concerns that you've shared this morning as well. So again, I'm going to thank everyone for coming, and at this point I will go ahead and I will close the public hearing on the combined state plan. Thank you all for coming today.